We're going to keep on going here, and this time we're going to now look to the hills with Pete Sonntag, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Whistler Blackcomb. A lifelong skier, Pete has held many key leadership positions within the Vail Resorts portfolio, including roles at Beaver Creek, Vail, and Keystone. Most recently, Pete served as the Senior Vice President of Vail Resorts Tahoe, California region and Chief Operating Officer of Heavenly. Pete began his ski career as an instructor for the Beaver Creek Ski and Snowboard School. This is where he starts to get Canadian. As a proud hockey dad, Pete already had strong connections to BC before he arrived to take over Whistler Blackcomb. His kids have been at the Pursuit of Excellence Hockey School in Kelowna, and I've watched Pete since he got here learn two key words in the Canadian language. One, the versatile use of the term sorry, and secondly, the correct application of the term a. So on that note, Pete Sonntag.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. Afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you all. And yeah, I mean, this will be a good refresh of where we were a year ago. I think a lot has changed for our company and for the mountain over the past year. And I talked about some of those things last year when I was here. And we'll talk about where we're at going forward. So, and that is not me in that photo. Although, was anybody up on the mountain today? Really good. If it was well worth the effort. Okay, so we'll give a little bit of a business update here. As hard as it is to believe, this was a really bad start to the season. So just thinking back a couple months, it feels like years ago right now. We were incredibly challenged. It was one of the worst starts in a couple decades here at Whistler Blackcomb. Some of you will know all the stress that was out in the community around our decision to restrict employee skiing and riding over those first few days of the season. Because we had such limited terrain, we were only 400 acres, and that's probably a generous count. It was really about 2.5 trails we opened with for that holiday weekend. I was up there because I needed to see what was going on, and I felt really good about that decision. I mean, it was not a good place to put additional people out on the slope. And fortunately, that didn't last forever, but I think it was a good reminder of why we do what we do, why we try to lock in the revenue in advance of the season so that the business can stay stable when we don't have a good year. And we've been really lucky. So the past 3 years have been good winters, and now this winter is looking like it's going to be a good winter as well. But historically, if you look back at the snowfall records over time, it's very rare to have more than 2 to 3 good winters in a row before there's an off winter. So maybe that's the sign of where we're at right now, but we're very fortunate for the rebound. And yeah, this is what it looks like now and what it looked like today as well. So we also had a lot of challenges with the snow, and we'll probably end up talking a little bit about some of those things. But the snow, when it came like in a very short period of time. It was accompanied by a lot of wind, a lot of fluctuating freezing levels, and that created a lot of challenges for our operations team as well. So some of the things that people were saying out in the community were absolutely true. We were challenged with some of our lifts, and that was a direct result of the conditions that we had. So just a reminder on who we are as a company and our network of resorts. Since I was here last year, we added 4 more resorts. We added in the Northeast U.S., we added Okemo and Mount Sunapee, which are moderately sized. Sunapee's a little on the small side. Okemo would be one of the bigger Northeast resorts, but still very small compared to a Western resort. We added Crested Butte in Colorado, and we added Stevens Pass in Washington. And I was able to get down to Stevens Pass myself a few weeks ago for the first time. And if you've been there before, it's a really, really neat place. If you haven't, I would recommend taking a trip down there one day just to check it out. It is a complete throwback ski area. The terrain is legitimate. So they've got the steeps, they've got great tree skiing, and it's kind of a mini Whistler in a way. But really, really neat and a great addition to us, and of course really enhances our footprint in the Northwest. And we have the past partnerships as well, including RCR, 12LA in France, Verbier in Switzerland. We're in Austria as well. and then in Japan with a couple different areas as well, Hakuba and Rizutsu. So they're really about providing this value with the Seasons Pass and giving people the choices. And last year was a great example of kind of how that can play out, where the U.S. was having, especially the western U.S., was having a historically bad snow year. And so we did see some additional visitation from folks who changed plans after they realized how poor the conditions were in Colorado and Utah and Tahoe as well. Some of those people did come up, tried out Whistler Blackcomb. Our goal is to make them love it so they'll want to come back again, and I think we did a good job of that. But the ability to move around is really valuable, and people are willing to commit in advance for that. So these are just visitation rankings in North America. No surprise, Whistler Blackcomb is number one by quite a bit. Breckenridge 2, Vail 3, Park City 4, Keystone 6, Beaver Creek would also be in the top 10. So we feel really good about the strength of the resorts that we have, and that's something that we've really tried to build upon. Obviously, as we look to future opportunities, it's hard to kind of continue with the top 10 list, but we try to be very strategic and disciplined about when we add to the company, and that there's real value there, and it's not just growth for growth's sake. And every time we do an acquisition, as my team knows here, it's painful. And that integration of two companies is a very challenging thing that we need to go through to get on common systems and a common platform. There's a process that we have to go through, and no matter how well we execute it, change is challenging. And if you ask my team now how it feels versus how it felt a year ago, I think they would say way better. Is it perfect? No, but we're making progress. And that's something that we're very focused on as well. But no question, when we do these acquisitions, it kind of has an overall impact on the company and how much we're able to take on in any given year. So, who's ridden the new Blackcomb gondola? Okay, has anybody not ridden it? Okay, now you've got to get out there and do that. I'll talk about this a little bit, but huge investment and, really ambitious. What we took on in one summer was not only a huge capital investment, but it was also a huge undertaking for our team. Yeah, we have Doppelmayr come in and they're the contractor, but our team has to take on a lot of that work as well. I'm incredibly proud of what we were able to pull off, and our CEO, Rob Katz, was here the last 2 days, and it was his first time here skiing this year. First time to experience the lifts, and it was cool. Like, there's just a sense of pride in what we've been able to get done, and no question those lifts have had a significant impact on the guest experience. So we'll talk a little bit about that. This is kind of from a more macro level for our company. Again, the scale and the resort ownership and what we're able to invest as a company is really unprecedented in the ski industry. That's $1.2 billion as a company over the past decade. Really in lifts and restaurants are where we see the two kind of big buckets of investment. But for sure, we're always trying to find ways to invest that'll enhance the guest experience. And, there are a lot of ideas about things that we can do to do that. And the local teams are really the ones in charge of coming up with the ideas for the projects, going through the business analysis, and then submitting it to it's kind of my job to then take it to the corporate office, and we talk kind of as a company about, all right, what are the most impactful, best projects we can be doing in the coming year? So that's the process that we went through. Whistler Blackcomb obviously had the lion's share of capital, strategic capital in our company this past year. Going forward into the next year, we're actually going to take a little bit of a breather, and you can't do that kind of capital investment each and every year, or the operations can never catch up. So our job this year is to really have the operations catch up with the investment, and I think you'll see us get better and better as time goes by in running those new lifts, and the Blackcomb gondola is a great example of that. It's actually very stable now and doing a great job. The direct lift access is a big priority for us. It has been, but we're going to put even more focus on that going forward. So we've got another pilot that we'll be running here at Whistler Blackcomb come spring, which will enable guests to go direct to the lift. We'll be able to handle their details actually in the line. So it's, again, we're trying to take people out of the ticket line, give them direct-to-lift access, make it as easy as possible. Our goal is to get out of the way and kind of remove the barriers for them to have the experience that they initially came here to have. So just a few slides on our lift openings. This was mid-December, and yeah, we got a little bit off track on the timing of the lift opening of the Blackcomb gondola. As we came down the stretch, we were trying for November 22nd. We realized a few weeks before that wasn't going to be possible, and glad we were able to get it before the Christmas holiday. It was just, again, a really proud moment for myself and my team to be able to open that lift, and we had a great opening. We did have some challenges, no question about it. When you open a new lift, especially one that's as complex as that, there are just some quirks to each and every lift. They all kind of have their own life, and it takes time for our team to understand exactly how it works. And again, as I said, we've now kind of gone through that and feel much better about where we're at. You know about the 3 gondola connection. This was Cat Skinner's opening, and then Emerald as well. And I do want to acknowledge we had First Nations representation at each of those lift openings, which made it all that much more special. Like, we're trying to celebrate this together because we're working together as a team to bring these lifts to life on the traditional lands. And again, just note how little snow there was when we were opening that. So a lot of talk about winter, but it's also important to reflect back to last summer, where we were able to open the Cloudraker Sky Bridge and the Raven's Eye Cliff Walk. And if you haven't had the opportunity to experience those, I hope you can get up there and do it. These are cool projects. Like, you know, one of those things where it seems a little crazy when it first comes up, but we felt like, okay, this can really kind of put us on the map, kind of in the way that the Peak to Peak did when that went in 10 years ago. Something that's truly iconic, that becomes a bucket list item for guests to make that trip all the way up to Whistler. And it's absolutely happening, and it's been great to see. One of the challenges for us last summer, if you think back, was we didn't have access up the mountain via Blackcomb all summer. And traditionally, we'll see about 25% of sightseeing business will actually go up on the Blackcomb side. So to think about, okay, are we actually going to be able to replace 25% of that business over on Whistler? Are people going to make the walk over if they're staying in Blackcomb Upper Village? We had a lot of conversations about how we do that, and we came up with some ideas about how we could mitigate that impact. We did sightseeing out of Creekside, running Red Chair. We expanded the hours of the Whistler Village gondola, and we were really pleased that actually we saw no loss whatsoever in visitation. And I think, you know, partly, yeah, we made some operational tweaks, but I think there was also more of a reason for people to come and experience Whistler this year, this past summer, with these iconic things up here on the mountain. So again, these are the type of investments we want to continue to make to enhance that experience, give people a reason to come and a reason to come back. So this is what the umbrella bar looked like. I wish I had a picture of it with it all stretched out, and then I could say this is what it looked like before the wind blew it away 2 weeks ago. So if you don't know, we had a little bit of an issue with our umbrella bar, and the last windstorm that we had tore the roof right off of it. So unfortunately, this is closed right now. However, we have a new one on order, and we should be back up and running, I would say, within 2 to 3 weeks. This has become its own destination, and so this was a tough morning. I was actually on Fresh Tracks, going up for a Fresh Tracks breakfast that morning, and I literally got the phone call when I was about 2 minutes from the top of the Whistler Village gondola saying, "Hey, Pete, this is Bob Dufour. Got some bad news." We had a little issue with our umbrella bar, so then I saw it, and yeah, that's the kind of world we live in up there. It's a little wild, and we have to be prepared for those things. Good learning for us. There are probably some things we could have done differently to better prepare for that windstorm, and my team tells me that it'll never happen again. Okay, and then also thinking back to last year, in the last couple of years, we've built out 2 full years of Creekside Bike Park. We're also committed to year 3 this coming summer, so there'll be additional trail work this summer in there. And really, over time, the idea is we will double the size of the bike park, although the experience in Creekside is completely different from the experience over in the main area on Whistler. And it's been really great for me and for our team to see the impact of this. So we've been able to grow the business. We've given people more of a reason to come back and return or buy the season's pass. And we've seen lineups at the Fitz Chair shorter this past year than they were in years past because we've been able to effectively spread people out. So it's been a really great growth strategy for us, trying to figure out ways we can continue to drive summer business, give people, again, things to do while they're here so they're not just coming and maybe taking a ride up the gondola and then, not doing other activities, but that they stay longer. So again, this has been highly successful for us, and we'll continue to invest in the next couple of years. So this has already been mentioned, but incredibly important for us. This partnership, or the joint venture between Lillooet Nation and Murphy Construction, bore a huge benefit for us and was actually a key component of our gondola lift construction, where that team built the mid-station parking barn, which in itself was a multi-million-dollar project just on its own. Not only did they do it, but that project was extremely well done. It was on time, it was on budget, very, very great partnership, a great team for our team to work with. I can't say enough good things about, kind of where this was and how reliable and how committed this team was to getting this project done. That's Chief Dean in the middle on the photo on the right. And this is something we see a lot more opportunity ahead to continue these great partnerships as we look forward. So we also made a significant housing announcement in the fall. Mike talked a lot about the RMOW's initiatives. We also feel like, we have to take responsibility to do what we can as well. So we'll certainly partner with the Muni on their pieces, but if there's something that we can be doing on our own, we're going to do it. And this was an opportunity that we identified, and we're moving forward. So we're in the permitting process right now with the RMOW on Glacier 8, so an additional building in the Glacier employee housing area on Blackcomb. It'll bring 200 beds, and our sincere goal is to get this thing done over the summer so that we can occupy it in the fall, because we're feeling the impacts of housing as much as any other employer. So this is really something we really wanted to take a leadership position and be able to say that we're doing our part to relieve the housing crisis. It's an incremental step, and there are many others, but it's a step forward. So just talking about the stability, why our company is so focused on purchase in advance. Because we lock in such a significant amount of our annual revenue before the snow flies, that gives us the stability to continue to invest, to continue to move the company forward, to continue to provide stable employment for people in resort communities. That makes the community thrive. So it's our model. It's not perfect for everybody, but it's been very good for us and something we continue to be committed to. And again, the diversification along with that pre-commitment are really helping us. That's our kind of our business way of mitigating the weather risk that we will continue to face in the coming years. Which I just said. Okay, and then I just wanted to point out, our commitment to the Whistler Blackcomb Foundation is as strong as it has ever been, and if you look back to the TELUS golf event in the fall, it was the most successful golf event that the Whistler Blackcomb Foundation has held so far. And we also know we got to be part of the community, and we're committed to being part of the community. Our piece comes in 2 parts. So There's the Whistler Blackcomb Foundation, which is really the cash aspect, being able to make donations to local nonprofits in the form of cash donations. And then the next piece is Epic Promise, which is the brand that we have kind of across the entire company, which includes employee volunteerism, it includes community outreach efforts, volunteer projects, things like that, and our commitment to zero, which is something we've talked about quite a bit, reducing our impact on the environment to zero by the year 2030, which we've already made a lot of progress in. And, you know, again, I think I pointed this out last year, but the genesis of this initiative really started here at Whistler Blackcomb. And so, you know, our ability to take things that started here, ideas that started here, and spread them across our entire company is a high priority for me, and something that I'm really proud to be a part of, because I'm here in the community as well, and I want to see this team succeed. And I feel like as the leading resort in the world, and certainly in our company, we can take a real leadership position on a lot of things. So anytime we have a chance to have a win here, I'm going to support it 100%, and this is one of those areas that I'm really proud of. And that's all I've got for now, so I'm sure there'll be questions later. Thank you.